right. Just bear with me here bear with me for a few minutes while I get myself oriented. And of course, I've got to have the unofficial drink of the channel. Go grab me my Red Bulls. I'll be right back. Got me a brand new case of the unofficial drink of the channel, sugar-free Red Bull, not sponsored. Hope you're all having a fantastic night. It's been pretty relaxed for me considering everything that's happened. Let me move these starships. Actually, I really should have put the camera in the other direction. I'm so used to sitting when I do my reviews in the kitchen here. I'm actually used to facing my stove. But I'm going to move my chair out of the way here so I can stand up and do this. I prefer to stand up and do it. It's just easier. I'll give this a couple more minutes before I start. But again, thank you, everybody. Let's move this out of the way. There is one more piece of Star Trek I want to get. Okay, almost ready, folks. I know it looks like a bit of a mess for now, but I really should get the display stand for my Aoshima Enterprise. Give me one moment here, if I can find that box quick. I got to review this guy too. Well, I hope you're all having a wonderful night. I just want to pull out the the displays stand for my Aoshima Enterprise, so that this way I don't really have to mess around with it too much. It's just situated just enough that I can at least grab it. And if any of you have the Aoshima Enterprise, excuse me, you'll notice exactly that. It's going to separate because they didn't make the magnet strong enough. And this thing is weird because it just like sits there. Well, as long as it's got a pedestal to sit on, better than nothing. Okay. I'll give this a couple more minutes and then we'll begin, I guess. Okay. I'm just hoping I don't knock these other starships down on the ground. That would suck. Adjusting here. Is the Enterprise D? All right, good. It sits perfect, just like that. All right, I'm not even going to mess with it, because I definitely want to frame a reference for these other starships. Okay, so, how you doing, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. As they say in Hollywood, the show must go on, and I'm doing this live review for all of you. Since all of you have been such, you guys and gals have been so good these past couple weeks, watching me go through all of this crap that I didn't ask for and didn't want. I figured let me give back, get my camera rig here. My gooseneck. I guess you want to call it a boom arm, whatever you want to call it. But I got myself situated here by the kitchen. We'll dig through this box. I've already opened this up and showed this ship on camera, but I wanted to do a proper review for all of you, an interactive review, so that this way we'll have a little fun here tonight, basically. Because I can use it. But thank you, everyone, for really, really, really supporting the channel and all that stuff. I deeply appreciate it, and all the kind words and everything that everybody's been sending my way. I really appreciate it. So let's just dive right into this thing. So this is from Fanhome. And do yourselves a favor, if you're a Star Trek fan like me, do not pay a scalper on eBay, because these things on eBay are going for like $200 to $300. I only paid $100 for mine. And if you're a little patient, it comes in this brown box here, and that's the ship itself. I mean, I waited for like 6 months, 7 months, something like that, just to get this ship in hand until they actually made them available, which they did. But there's no reason why you would have to pay an eBay scalper all kinds of stupid money to get one of these. Doesn't make sense. And just to adjust the camera here a little bit more so it's right in my face. As always, live TV comes with its problems. It's just I can't really try to adjust. Well, I guess that's as good as it's going to get. But there it is, the Enterprise G. from Star Trek Picard. This is from Fanhome. This is the successor to Eagle Moss. The box is absolutely gorgeous. This is what Eagle Moss should have done. The photography is great. The orientation of the ship is nice. I have the Enterprise A XL, which is right there. And the photography on that thing leaves a lot to be desired because, unfortunately, with that ship, I think it was photographed backwards. Let me just move it this way so we get a better view, and I have more room to work with here. Come on, don't be stubborn. Okay. There we go. I think that's the best way to do this, to keep it right there. I want to also get in those other Enterprises. Enterprise? There you go. This way you can see the box a lot better. It's a really, really nice box. I'll flip it around so you can see, again, the side of the box right there. Star Trek Picard. And then Fanhome, blah, blah, blah. Fanhome, blah, blah, blah. So again, I pulled this ship out of the box. I really don't want to damage this thing because this is one of those, oh, you know what happened? The tape caught again. Come on, there you go, all right. This is one of those things that could potentially have good resale value if ever I decide to part with it. But when you open up the box, you're going to see the booklet on the inside, like so. So there's the booklet that it comes with. USS Enterprise NCC-1701-G. It's so bizarre. It looks like a UFO. When you see that photo right there, the front view of it, it looks like some weird UFO ship. And I guess there's a little bit of a history of the ship. Nice, really nice photography. Very Eagle Moss-like. Very Eagle Moss-like. Now, this was supposed to be modeled after the Shangri-La class ship, designing the Enterprise G. There it is, the Shangri-La class. So you can see NCC-2575. So this is the ship that it was modeled after. And a lot of elements rolled over to this ship, which is cool. Okay. Man, my chair is squeaking. Of course, it's a live stream. Why not? Let me just take a swig of the typical Red Bull. All right, let's get her out of here. Now, like I said, I already opened this thing up off camera and showed it a couple times. Because I wanted to really take a look at this thing. It's a weird ship. That's the thing. It's like bizarre. See, when you get Eagle Moss ships, usually it'll have like a gold sticker on the bottom. This doesn't have that. So that's already one difference that I see. And I'm surprised they released an extra large version of this, because typically with Eagle Moss, they would do the little ones first, and then the XLs. So I guess Fanhome's kind of like doing their own thing. And on the website, it's showing that they're reissuing a lot of those Eagle Moss ships. I think they're doing Voyager, or they're doing the Defiant. I think they're doing the Enterprise D. The display stand is exactly the same as Eagle Moss, what Eagle Moss would do. So that's kind of cool right there. Very nice. And then, last but not least, the star of the show, let's take her out. I'll put that styrofoam back in there with that booklet, because I don't want that booklet getting all messed up. So, all right. Oh, here she is, the Enterprise G. And I have to say, it's a really odd ship. And a lot of strange design choices. You know, when you actually hold this thing and you look at it and you scrutinize it, it's just odd, the choices that they made with this. One thing I will say for the most part is that the alignment of the windows on my copy are pretty good, actually, especially details like that right there. I don't know if you can see that. Come on. Right there. Like they're really aligned. Look at how nice and aligned that is. At least on my copy, after fiddling with it, I don't see any misalignment except in one spot maybe. But it's so, like you really have to be looking, and that's in this area right here. Where is that? Right there. You really have to be looking. It's not quite centered as far as, I guess that's some sort of port. But otherwise, everything is nice and aligned. I mean, this thing is incredible. I actually learned a little trick. Even though the warp nacelles are really straight and really aligned, they were one of them was cockeyed. I think it was this one that was cockeyed. I actually was able to wiggle it off and break it off, and then get a little Gorilla Glue and set it back in place, so that this way the nacelles could be as straight and as dead on as humanly possible. So you can see right there, they look pretty good for what they are. But it's just weird, because when you watch Picard, let me get the box out of the way so I got more room to work with here. As you can see, I got the Aoshima, the Japanese Enterprise D. We got the XL from Eagle Moss. That's the refit with the incorrect dome, the Corgi refit of the original Enterprise. And then, of course, we have the Strange New Worlds XL, which I really like that ship. I'm tied. This ship, along with, I don't know, I couldn't choose a favorite. I like every one of them. I'm not going to play favorites here because that's kind of dumb. If you're a Star Trek fan, I guess everybody's got their own tastes. But yeah, so here is the Enterprise G, which was the Titan A in the Picard TV series, or whatever. And it looks a little strange because of these really narrow warp nacelles. It is reminiscent of the refit and the Enterprise E, because the Enterprise E had like very rectangular warp nacelles. Let me see if I can set this down. I think it goes like this. No, it does not. It goes like this. I forget. Did I not practice this before I got on camera here? There we go. That's how it's supposed to look in the display stand. Let me just circle the camera around like so. This way we can get a better view of what the ship looks like on display. It's not really a bad ship. Let me grab my Eagle Moss XL of the Enterprise E. And this is a pretty heavy, the Enterprise E is a heavy model in and of itself. And I'm going to grab my two Enterprise E's from my bedroom. These two, unfortunately, I have no room to display these. Which one should I put out there? I mean, I don't have the brackets for these. I want to get the acrylic display stand, so I'll just put them out here at random, wherever. Who cares? So we got the Enterprise E from Diamond Select, and then I have the first. Well, this is the Nemesis version, and I have the first contact version right here. So we're surrounded by Enterprises. Enterprise? So yeah, that's the Nemesis. No, that's not the Nemesis. That's the first contact version, excuse me. Ooh, pardon me. I'm running out of room real quick. Maybe that's not such a good idea to put these here. All right. That one can stay right there. I just push it back. So let's just take a quick look at the ship. So this is how it would look on the display stand. Swing the camera around a little bit more. You could see like the Aztecing on the ship. Again, the alignment of the windows and the details on my copy are really nice. It's just weird because the design choice that they made to keep the phaser turrets and have phaser strips, I'm sure, works to the benefit of the ship for self-defense, because I think it has forward and aft torpedo launchers. And like you saw in Picard, man, when Seven had the ship cloaked trying to distract the Federation fleet after, that whole Borg thing started to come to fruition, she cloaked it. Well, this is originally the Titan, but this thing was firing phasers from all over the place. But just some really, really weird design choices. I mean, it's got a little bit of everything. It's strange because if you look at the progression of every Enterprise ship from the OG Connie to the refit Connie. Then you had the Excelsior class, Ambassador class, Galaxy class, Sovereign class. Then you had, I forgot what class the Enterprise F is, and then you go to this Enterprise. It actually went in reverse. It went smaller. So I guess the Federation at that point, and I've kind of done a little homework on this, that, that type of conflict wasn't expected after the Dominion War, so they kind of scaled back the aggressive nature of their ships to go back to like a more simple design, which it was always the saucer and nacelle combination. Since even in the NX class, with the refit, with the secondary hull and all that stuff, but it's just weird because you look at this thing. I mean, the impulse engines, I think, are incorrect. I think they should be red. They painted these orange. But that's one of those little nitpicks. It's a minor nitpick. It doesn't really bother me at all. Even looking at this point of view, excuse me, it's so reminiscent of a Federation starship and reminiscent of any Enterprise. I mean, this is a beauty shot right there. I mean, it's so Enterprise. You got the shuttle bay right there. You got your impulse thrusters. I believe that these are the impulse crystals, or there's a name for these. I think these are called impulse crystals. That apparently the impulse drive on this thing is absolutely insane. I mean, we saw that when Seven was flying the ship around the Federation fleet in Star Trek Picard, that this thing has all kinds of maneuverability to it. Move the camera up here, give myself a little room to work with here. Oop, I want to put it that way. This is what happens with live reviews. You get to see what content creators have to go through just to show things off. Everything is raw dog, as they would say. Just trying to... And a gooseneck on my camera stand is so bad now. I might have to get another one. Okay. There we go. And I'm still picking up light blocking. No, I guess we're going to have to do a plan view. So, as long as I can see the ship, that's fine. But anyway, it's got this really weird saucer design to it. It's not a total saucer. Again, it's based off the Shangri-La. You see the phaser strips, and then you see phaser turrets, which is like weird. It's a very, very weird choice. You got your transporter pads right there. The Enterprise E has those on there too. You see them on the D as well. In front of the registry, you see them right there and right there. That's for transporting. Or for the transporter system, I should say. The Enterprise E has them up front here and throughout the ship. What I like about this is that they kind of carried over what they did with the Sovereign class to make sure that, and anybody that knows Star Trek knows that the Constitution class's biggest weakness is always the neck, so they made the neck very compact. But the impulse engines are just ridiculously huge for this ship. That's probably why it flies around like the way it does in Picard. Just some really interesting design choices here. You got the chiller grills that they opened up to try to recharge the ship when they were going against the Shrike. When Riker throws an asteroid at the Shrike, and Beverly Crusher goes, did you just throw an asteroid? Damn right I did. So But yeah, just some really interesting choices. And I've got to say, Eagle Moss, if you can do this, you have to go back and fix that Enterprise A, that Eagle Moss. I'm sorry, Fanhome. You have to go back and correct what Eagle Moss did with the Enterprise A XL. I mean, the details on this thing are really, really nice. It actually, I don't want to say it's dirt. I guess they kind of made it look rustic, I guess is the best way you can put it. It's got patina on it, which is kind of nice. I like that. That's a nice, it's not typical of a lot of ships where you would see like your typical Aztecing. It looks like it's already been through combat, which it has. It used to be the Titan A, and now it's the Enterprise G. But I like the fact that they made the neck compact. But then it's weird because when you spin the ship around like this and you look at it in a front view, and again, it could be just because my camera's wonky. It's just so, it just makes the ship look so, what am I trying to say here? Basically, it's like four ships wrapped in one is what I'm trying to say. It's got hallmarks from every single ship that's come before it. Like I got the here, like I'll take out the Enterprise E. This is the first contact version. I don't think these would be to scale. I'm not sure. I would have to check. I really don't think that these guys are to scale. But you look at the warp nacelles here on this ship, and you see they're all streamlined and pointy, and you know the pylons are swept back, which is indicative of the refit and of the Enterprise E. But what they did is they maintained this feature here where you got the Bussard collector up front, and this is reminiscent of the original Connie Enterprise. Whereas the original Connie Enterprise, the warp pylons were straight up and down, where the Strange New Worlds one has it swept back. So, yeah, it's got little features from every ship. Obviously, the saucer section is very TMP. You got the main computer right there, basically NCC-1701-G. Now, a lot of photos show these pinstripes here in red online. So I don't know if that's a mistake on Fanhome's part, but that's a minor detail. I really don't, that doesn't bother me whether it's red or black or gray or whatever. It looks good to me. But again, it's got little features from every Enterprise, basically. You know, you got the rear shuttle bay right here on the back of the ship. Look at the size of that freaking, that impulse engine, or these impulse engines are huge. They're huge. You know, it's crazy, man. But it's a very, very, it's a beautiful ship in and of itself. It's just the design choices are just strange. But I like the fact that they maintain some semblance of the original Constitution and the Constitution refit. The neck, that compact neck definitely reduces the chances that, you know, if they encounter whatever enemy they may encounter, the first thing that probably would, with any Constitution class ship, would be to go after the neck. Now, if they really wanted to pay homage to the refit Enterprise, they should have put Enterprise back here somewhere. That would have been cool. But again, that's just a minor nitpick. Again, the alignment on my copy of Windows are pretty good, except maybe one or two spots, but like here, there's a little misalignment, but that doesn't really matter at all. That really doesn't matter. You got the main deflector dish right there. Squeaky chair, chair farts. But it's very photogenic, I've got to say. Now, I like the fact that they did include the windows throughout the edge of the saucer, which the XL Eagle Moss 1701A did not do. They completely botched the bridge dome on that ship. Again, I have it sitting in the background there. At least here they made an effort to try. They don't have the sensor bands on the saucer section, but they do have the windows. And again, on my copy, there's almost no misalignment on the windows, which is good. And that's kind of rare with these ships, but you know, there's your port for docking. You got your RCS thrusters in a nice gold color, which is cool. I'm going to assume that this thing would have saucer SEP, because if you look here and you look here, these look like landing bay feet or landing struts. So I would have to assume that this would saucer separate. And this feature is present on the refit Enterprise, where you see what look like landing pads if they were to saucer sep. I mean, there are a lot of carryovers. I mean, again, you got the main computer on the bottom with the running lights. Again, a bizarre choice to have phaser strips and phaser turrets. That's a weird choice on this ship. But you got to look past that because, well, you know, it's another Enterprise. You know, not every Enterprise is the same, with the exception of maybe the Constitution refit versus the refit. I'm sorry, the refit Constitution versus the Enterprise A. Excuse me. And most of those differences, I mean, except for the paint job, would be, you know, all the internals, like the bridge is different, et cetera, because they were starting to advance in technology. But again, it's not bad. Just some really weird choices they made with this ship. Again, it's based off the Shangri-La. But since I pulled this thing out of the box, I mean, it's really grown on me. I've got to admit, I'm liking this ship more and more as I fool around with it. So, you know, you look at this next to the Aoshima, the Japanese Enterprise D. Now, this is the Generations version that lights up, which I never reviewed on the channel, which one day it will get its own review. I'm almost certain that these are to scale. When it comes to the Enterprise E, they're definitely not to scale. I mean, you can't really trust certain features when it comes to models like this. But this Enterprise G, the Enterprise D, and my Corgi refit Enterprise, they seem to fit within scale to each other. At least I would assume so, because the Connie, the OG refit Connie, should be smaller than this, and this should be slightly smaller than this. I mean, those are pretty close to scale, but I know with the Enterprise E, as far as the Diamond Select one is concerned, it's definitely too big. It's way too big. And we got the Enterprise E from Eagle Moss. This thing, Oh, that's another thing too I should get into. What's plastic and what's not. So most of this is plastic down here. And the top of the ship on the saucer, that's die cast. The nacelles are die cast. Warp pylons are die cast. Most of the ship is die cast, but it's balanced. Obviously, a big chunk of the weight is going to be up front because of the saucer section. That's kind of given. You can even see that if I'm holding it. She wants to go down. So just be aware of that. And then you got your display stand again. Let me get the Nemesis Enterprise out of the way. Yeah, it definitely doesn't fit the scale with the Nemesis or the First Contact from Diamond Select. So, in the Enterprise E, in this case, when it comes to the Eagle Moss version, it's too small. So if I make some room here for the Corgi Enterprise, which actually got it right. I wish Eagle Moss would have did what Corgi did with this starship. These are pretty much to scale or close to scale. And you can see if you compare it to an actual Enterprise refit, the similarities are just striking. Let's get that Aoshima out of here. We'll bring in the Corgi. Look at the similarities between... Now this is the Corgi refit. This thing's a chunky girl. She's a chunky lass. Just like this one is. They're both like heavy, which is awesome. But if you look at these side by side, and if you actually do some research, they're fairly close to scale with each other. They're really not that far off. Windows are a dead giveaway. Bridge modules are a dead giveaway. And they're really not that far off as far as scale is concerned. I mean, arguably, I think the Connie refit, the OG Connie refit, could be just a little bit bigger. But, you know, for the sake of displaying these, if you were to put these side by side, they're fairly close to scale. So, and then you roll the two ships over like this. They're very similar. It's just the Enterprise G takes a lot of callbacks from the refit in so many ways. It's kind of weird doing this behind the camera. I'm trying to like get the best angle possible. I don't want these banging on the countertop here, but you know, the RCS thrusters are where they should be. The impulse crystal, well, because of the size of the impulse engines for maneuverability, I wonder if it could, I don't think it could outrun a Defiant class ship. I mean, at this point in time, I don't think they were using Defiant class ships. I mean, you do see the Defiant in the Fleet Museum in Star Trek Picard, so I don't know if this thing can actually outrun or outmaneuver a Defiant class ship. You can see the swept back warp pylons, the rectangular nacelles. Both of these ships are just so photogenic. Now here, it looks weird from here because you got all that girth in the middle of the ship. Look at the size of those impulse engines. My God. I know, again, it bothers some people that the impulse engines are orange. To me, it doesn't really bother me at all. That's just one of those details you have to look past. If you can't look past that, you know, you're missing the point. They got it fairly close. See, here's where you can tell the scale is pretty good, because if you look at the two You look at the two shuttle bay doors on both of these ships, and you can see they're pretty much scaled to the same scale, whatever that scale may be. So these are fairly close to scale with each other. So if you're able to get one of these Corgi refit Enterprises, it's going to work well on a display shelf. They're fairly close to what I believe would be scale. And then you bring in another ship. Oh, I really don't like putting these down on a raw surface because you can chip the paint. Eek. Eek. I don't like doing that. Note to self, put it on a towel. Put it on a towel. You just don't know until you get yourself a towel. You're a towel. I can't do towel-y for the life of me. All right, so we'll get these guys back on their displays, and then we'll bring back in the Aoshima Enterprise D. And again, they're fairly close. Let me see if I can... Let me turn the camera back here. I'll push this back just so I got some room to work with. And then you could see for yourself kind of where these are at when you put them together. They're just about close to scale as you're going to get. I would have to say. And the Aoshima Enterprise, again, I think there's like 2 or 3 versions of this. This is the Generations version, so it's a teal color. And of course this lights up. The only thing I don't like about this ship is the fact that I forgot how to do this now. Where's the button? Oh, down here, I forget. The only thing I don't like about the Aoshima Enterprise D is that the magnet is not strong enough to hold the drive unit to the saucer, but there's the Aoshima all lit up. I wish they made other ships, Aoshima. If you're listening over there, my friends in Japan, you've got to come up. You've got to do a refit Enterprise. We're way overdue, folks. My friends in the land of the rising sun, please release an Enterprise refit. Release the Enterprise refit. Release the Kraken. But yeah, when you put all 3 of them together, they look so close to each other, scale-wise. It really works out. So if you have ships and you know and you understand the scale of these ships, all 3 of these work out perfect to me. Now, I have an Enterprise B, but that's a Diamond Select, and that thing is just as big as the Enterprise E. And I also have a USS Excelsior, is also the same size as that Enterprise B, so it doesn't really work, unfortunately. But with the Klingon ships I have in a Defiant, let me bring down my Defiant here. Now, this is the standard Defiant. Oops, excuse me. Now, this is not the display stand for this Defiant. I don't know what happened to my original display stand. Apparently, Fanhome is redoing that. Let me see. I don't want to put these in such a way that these fall off the table. So there's the Defiant right there from Eagle Moss. And just with them 4 alone, move them over here just a little bit more this way, so we get a full view of what these ships look like together. They're fairly close to scale. I think, even though that this is the standard, not the XL version of the Defiant, it might be just a little too big, but scale has always been a problem in Star Trek anyway. But if you're going to make a makeshift display of starships, this is not bad at all. It's really not that bad at all. Because this entire dome here on this Defiant from Eagle Moss, this whole thing is a bridge module, pretty much. So if you you know, you put it up against the Enterprise D right there, the Connie refit, or the G, it's still not that far off, but it's just a little too big. It would have to be just a little bit smaller than this. But if this is all you have, then you're pretty much in the ballpark. So, and again, this is not the right display for this ship. I don't know what happened to my display for my Defiant, but it'll have to do. And then if you want to talk about other Federation ships, I'll break up this. I'm hoping the display stand does not fall, because Eagle Moss really screwed up with this, which I see is supposed to be reissuing. Fanhome is supposed to be reissuing this ship through their line. And that's the XL Katinga, which I do have. I had 3 of them. My goal was to set up a display with 3 Katingas, but it never panned out, unfortunately. So I'm running out of room here, quick. Let's get the refit Connie out of the way. We'll get the Defiant out of the way. And the Defiant all of a sudden wants to pop out of its display. Get in there. How did I do that? Here we go. Oh, that's why it broke. Whoops. Time for some glue. Yeah, like I said, I had this up there temporarily. So I think a little Gorilla Glue will fix that. It's been so stretched out. This was never meant for this display stand. Let me get a little Gorilla Glue. I'll be right back here, folks. But anyway, in the meantime, okay. So we got the XL Katinga from Eagle Moss right there. Now, if you're scaling, I don't know, and I don't think that the Katinga is to scale with these ships. I don't know. I would say it would be fairly close to the Enterprise G, because I do have up on my shelf, my Klingon shelf, a Vortchak class battle cruiser from Playmates that they came out with years ago. But, you know, I have it up there more for display than anything else. Let me crazy glue this first before I lose track of my mind here. Come on. There we go. If that's one thing about Gorilla Glue, man, this stuff is really potent, but very unpredictable with the way it behaves when you're trying to glue something back together again. Come on. Just waiting for it to dry a little bit. I shouldn't have plaster welded this. And the thing about Gorilla Glue I don't like is that it's so tenacious. If you're not careful, you know, I always get the gel anyway for crazy glue or whatever it is, whether it's Gorilla Glue or what have you. If you don't pay attention, man, that stuff gets everywhere, and it's a little hard to control. So There we go, all glued back together again. Again, like I said, this is not the proper display piece for that USS Defiant. You know, I just found this in my collection, so I'm using it for now, unless I get another Defiant or something like that. So this was originally for the Enterprise 1701 from Eagle Moss. All right, so I'm going to let that sit there. I don't want to mess with this thing. I'll let it dry overnight. I'm in no rush to put that back up on my shelf, but here's the Defiant once again. And then we have the Hot Wheels Klingon Bird of Prey, the HMS Bounty. Now, this is a cool ship right here because not only... Eek! Oh no! Thank God I put silicone paste on there. Yikes. Otherwise, that thing probably would have snapped. That's a problem with plastics. They have a shelf life. And if you're not careful, things will turn brittle and break. Now, what's cool about this ship... Now, I painted the back of mine to make it look a little bit more accurate to what we see on screen with that yellow, you know, with the yellow impulse engine right there. The nice red and yellow contrast is that these wings can do that, which is neat. So when it's in flight, it's nice and straight. When it lands on land, you would have to assume that this is a Cavort class battle cruiser. So the wings would go up like that. And then, of course, in some battle scenes, especially in Next Gen, you always see them flying in this configuration, which is slightly in between standard flight mode and their landing mode, like so. I want to say that this is Cavort class. No, wait, the one that battled the Connie refit in Star Trek 3, that was a Burrell class, I think. So this would be a Burrell class. Excuse me, I'm wrong. Burrell is the smaller of the two. The Cavort class is the bigger one. So you would have to assume this would be a Burrell class. So forgive me for that. I screwed that up. God, the names of these ships and their designations is enough to drive anybody mad. But there's your Klingon Bird of Prey, HMS Bounty from Hot Wheels. Cool little ship. I have two of these, actually. Oh, thank God for silicone paste. If I didn't put silicone paste on that thing, forget it. That poster will break. So, what could we put away and what could we... Obviously, the star of the show is the Enterprise E. The Enterprise G, excuse me. So let me get the Aoshima out of here. Well, actually, let me start with the Klingon battle cruiser here. This Katinga class ship is awesome, man. Look at that thing. The detail on this is just remarkable. See the torpedo bay right there. Amazing, amazing detail. This is one that Eagle Moss got right. The only thing is, over time, the display stand, because it's plastic, you know, it tends to flex and move and all that sort of thing. Let me get that Enterprise A out of here, because this thing is just Eagle Moss, Fanhome, excuse me. I got a bad habit of saying Eagle Moss. Fanhome, do us a favor. Go back to this ship. Redo that saucer module. Give us sensor bands. All right, make that United Federation of Planets smaller. Make the pennant, or the pennants, or the registry numbers on the warp nacelles. Come on. Make them smaller. They're way too big. I reviewed this guy on the channel already. Please make the corrections. Please fix that. Fanhome. We are praying to the Star Trek gods here. Oh, you folks will remember this on the channel. I reviewed this already a long time ago. It got a couple thousand views. The Phoenix knife, the Doctog. I mean, they made, the maker of this made intentional changes to try to get around copyright on this guy. They're still going for like $300 on eBay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that sentiment. Thank you very much. Yeah, I love Star Trek stuff. If I had a bigger apartment, I could display a lot more. But what else can I get out of my way here? Yeah, I would display a lot more stuff, but so is life. You take what you can get with what you have. So, and I still have a whole bunch of stuff in one of my boxes, and my brother, I believe, when I left New York, still has a whole bunch of my Eagle Moss starships. My dad I got mad at him. I didn't realize that, he was starting to suffer from Lewy body dementia before he died. He saw the big box of mine in my parents' apartment with all that Star Trek stuff and toys and everything else. He was giving away my stuff to the kids in the building that I grew up in. Dad was like, "Dad, what the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "What? What are you talking about? I didn't give away nothing of yours. Are you fucking crazy?" I said, "No, Pop. Mom's been telling me you're giving away all my toys." I mean, eventually you have to look past a thing like that. You know what I mean? You can't get mad at. I couldn't get mad at him. Obviously, I didn't know he was going. I mean, I had an inkling that he was dealing with something vastly, vastly scary and very serious with this dementia that he had. But, oh, you know what I can do? Let me position these in the way that we saw them on camera at the end of Picard. So that's the Aoshima Generations version of the Enterprise D. So it should sit like that. So I want to do the flyaway shot when they're heading back to space dock. The two ships at the end after the Borg was defeated. I think they were in this configuration, flying through all the debris of all the ships that were destroyed. And there's the XL Eagle Moss. Let's bring these two front and center here. Why not? I think I reviewed this guy on the channel. I don't remember. God, I've been falling behind so much with my reviews. I figure I let this one be more interactive as a thank you for everybody. Or a thank you to everybody to proper English. To say thank you, for supporting me and the channel and each other. By the way, shameless e-beg, I haven't asked once this whole live stream. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Smash that like button if you haven't done so already. And of course, if you got questions about these ships, let me know. And of course, the star of the show is the Enterprise G. Yeah, I figured let me do a interactive live stream so that this way, everybody can participate and whatnot. Let me turn off this Enterprise D because those are watch batteries and they will die. And this thing, for the curious, it does separate. But you got to watch because the magnet's really weak. And it does tend to fly apart, so you want to be real careful with that. When you handle this guy, you kind of want to grab it like right here and just kind of like balance it so that this way it doesn't fall out of your hand or it just doesn't fall or eject on its own. Now there are little screw hole covers and all that sort of thing. There's a captain's yacht that's supposed to go on the bottom here, but maybe one day I'll do a separate review of this guy. We'll see how it turns out. This is one of those things I wanted to review a long time ago, but I never did because reasons. So let me turn the Enterprise D this way. You can see it. See her in full display. I'll take a look at these other ones. We'll compare the Strange New Worlds Enterprise to the Enterprise G. Now, I doubt that these are in scale. If you care about that thing. I know a lot of Trek fans really, really care about scale, but at this point, you got to throw away that mindset. They're never going to make these to scale, so don't even bother. Don't waste your time. But here's the XL Strange New Worlds Connie. And then again, the Enterprise G. We'll put the Corgi over here. But even with the new Connie, or the, I guess you want to call this the alternate timeline, the Kelvin timeline. I think this is in the Kelvin timeline, if I'm not mistaken. Again, it's got that swept back. The nacelles on this guy are swept back. Come on. The original Connie didn't have that. I like that. I hate to say it. Trek fans are probably not going to like me for saying this. I like this Connie a teensy bit more than the original. I hate to admit it. It just looks... It's a proper redo of the original Constitution class that we grew up with and that our parents grew up with. It's a proper redo. It really looks nice. I know the series itself is kind of like meh, but the ship looks just absolutely gorgeous. I love this. And arguably, with the exception of the Connie refit and the Enterprise E, which is my secret love. I know a lot of people don't like the Enterprise E because it's an aggressive battleship instead of the Enterprise D, which was more for exploration. I kind of favor the Enterprise E a little bit because it's streamlined. But when it comes to an original redone, they did it right with this ship. Not like fucking J.J. Abrams with that shameless, that shameless Enterprise. With the nacelles that were like this close together. God. Oh my. Says George Takei. I just remembered what I have inside my ottoman here. I forgot. Do I still have it? I should have. Yeah, I did. Okay. I bought this on eBay many moons ago. I don't know what happened to the display for this guy. This was actually a CD holder or a DVD holder of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek that I kind of like started doing custom paint on and what have you to like bring out some of the highlights of the ship. I never got around to finishing this guy, but this was an annoying part because I couldn't stand how plain it looked on the bottom. There's still a lot of details that are missing on this ship, but that's the ridiculous JJ prize. It's not bad. I mean, yeah, you're supposed to be able to put DVDs in there. I crazy glued this together a long time ago because I didn't want to lose the parts. I mean, for a store-bought model that came with the DVD of the first Star Trek movie, it's not a bad little model. Oh, that was one of the things I did. I completely forgot about that. The torpedo bay was wrong. That was something I corrected myself. So I kind of made a torpedo launcher right there. You can see it if the camera will cooperate. Yeah, I made my own torpedo launcher and put it in the proper spot, because the way it was up here, I sanded this all down and trimmed it down and what have you. And oh, it was annoying. And I can remember sitting there doing this and cussing every other word and cussing the maker of this thing, because it was so hard to get this thing to sit in the proper position. And then I had to get in there with like a toothpick and paint to try to paint it proper. It's not exactly a color match, but that looks a hell of a lot better than the factory one that was actually molded into the plastic. You might not be able to see it on camera because I sanded it away a long time ago. But yeah, I made my own little torpedo launcher right there. So it's not a bad Enterprise, but it's such a departure. I mean, you look at that, and then here you getting tongue tied here because I got a lot to say. You know, I if you don't mind, folks, I'm nerding the F out. I'm just nerding out. I love this kind of stuff. I mean, here you can see the difference between this plastic DVD holder, which was what this was meant to be, and the Enterprise G. Technically, these are to scale, because in the goofy J.J. Abrams universe, when the Narada came through that wormhole, or that time warp, or whatever the fuck you call it, apparently the technology somehow changed in the alternate universe. So the Enterprise, for whatever bizarre reason, was like 3 times the size of the Connie that we know, that we grew up with William Shatner. So this supposedly is supposed to be as big as the freaking Enterprise D. And when we actually hold this one up next to the Enterprise D, it's actually pretty close. There are a lot of videos on YouTube where you can look that up. I think these two are to scale. That Connie refit and the Enterprise D all fall within, I want to say, pretty close to their canonical scale. So, but again, I never really, you can see on the inside of the warp pylons, I painted those in. I masked off the inside of the warp pylons there and painted them silver, just to bring it to life so it didn't look plain. There's supposed to be a lot more detail on the nacelles too, but at that time I just gave up. And I don't know what happened to the display stand. I would probably, if I can find one of these for cheap on eBay, I would just buy it for a display stand. And then resell the ship without the stand. eBay tricks. Okay. Let me put the JJ Prize. I'm not worried about banging around that plastic one. It's just these guys you got to watch out for. It's like I said, on my copy of the Enterprise G here, it was one of the nacelles was slightly misaligned. It was the only problem I found with this ship. So I ended up snapping it off and twisting it in such a way and holding it in place until the glue hardened, at least enough where I could leave it alone and let it sit overnight. And now they look nice and perfect and straight and dead on when you look at it from certain angles. So let me put this back in my ottoman here. But, okay. Ottoman is filled with so much shit. Okay. But this will definitely have its place up on my shelf. It'll definitely have its place up on my shelf, the Enterprise G. You know, it kind of sucks. It's a lost opportunity. There's a feature on the Shangri-La on the ship that this was based off of. I wish they would have kept the photon torpedo launcher here, because on the original ship, I think if I remember my canon correctly, Lieutenant Savick became Captain Savick and captained the Shangri-La ship that this was modeled after. And on that ship, there's supposed to be 3 photon torpedo launchers right here on the front of the saucer section. Again, this one suffers with the same problem. It's a lost opportunity. There's no sensor bands going around. That sucks. You got the windows painted in, though, slightly. And there's no misalignment with the windows, but again, it's a lost opportunity. Why do you discriminate when it comes to sensor bands, Fanhome? Eagle Moss did the same thing. No sensor bands. I like this feature a lot. This looks cool. There's just something about it's weird. You know, it's definitely an amalgamation of all of the Enterprises before it. You know, you got the long body that concaves down into an engineering section, like the Enterprise B. You have the shuttle bay that looks very reminiscent of the Connie refit. It's got the flat, stubby back that the Enterprise E has. You know, you got the swept back nacelles, also reminiscent of the Connie refit. I mean, the neck blends in well, just like it does on the Enterprise D. It's about as big as the Enterprise C, because the Enterprise C maintains, I mean, it doesn't have this shape to it as far as the engineering hull is concerned, or the secondary hull. But it kind of has that. There's like little bits and pieces. Somebody took all the Enterprises and threw them into a blender and then came out with this thing. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite Enterprises, surprisingly. And that this is coming from somebody. If I were to pick my top 3 Enterprises right now, I still think this Enterprise from Strange New Worlds is the best redo of the Connie that we have currently. Then the refit, and then this guy, the Enterprise G, because it's so freaking weird, and you know, it's just so freaking weird. And then of course in 4th place would be the D. But yeah, this thing, see, when you hold the Enterprise G like that, it's very reminiscent of the Enterprise E. That stubby look. It's got a very stubby look to it. It's not a bad ship. But don't pay anybody on eBay $300 to get one of these. Just do like what I did. It took about 6 to 8 months for me to actually get a hold of one of these from Fanhome's website. And finally an opening came up and I ordered mine just like that. It came in like 2 weeks' time, I think 2 or 3 weeks' time since I ordered it, and it did show up at my front door. You know, these are being flipped for like $300. I think that's fucking dumb. That's really fucking dumb. Just be patient. Bookmark Fanhome on your phone or on your computer or what have you, and just wait. And eventually you'll get one. I know there are a lot of Trek fans out there that probably want this. I got lucky. I didn't want the subscription. If I do get any ships from now on, and I'm pretty content with my Starship collection, but there are 1 or 2 ships I might get sometime in the future. Just wait until they release, when they release more of these for sale, so you don't have to get the subscription service. Because what the hell are you going to do with all them ships? That's what I did when Eagle Moss was around. And it's a ton of money when you get into the subscription service. You know, buying the individual ships, I think, is the way to go. So, absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Every angle is very, very photographic, or photogenic, I should say. Excuse me. The ship is very photogenic. You know, if you're somebody that likes to play around with models and stuff like that, and stop motion photography and whatnot, this is a good ship to use, in my opinion. I just wish this thing had like the sensor bands on the saucer section. It's my only gripe. I mean, my copy, the alignment, except in one little spot on the saucer section, is misaligned. Otherwise, every detail, every window is aligned perfectly. Every bit of Aztecing, you can even see there on the transporter strips or the transporter arrays, they're all aligned. That's the only thing that's misaligned, is that right there. But that's such a minor detail. From far away, it's like you're not going to see it. Everything, even here, you see the transporter array. It's very reminiscent of the Connie refit. I'm sorry, of the original Connie. Excuse me. I think the Connie refit has that also on the bottom. All these details. There's something similar to it. Beautiful, beautiful ship. It's just a wonderful, beautiful, weird, strange amalgamation of every ship that came before it. Now, the question remains, now that we have an Enterprise G since Picard ended, will they come back and have a TV series, or will they just stop it right there like Star Wars should have done and just leave it to the imagination and let us fill in the blanks? Or are they going to bombard us with more slop? Like with Starfleet Academy, which I haven't watched one episode. I refuse to watch It, What, Who pronoun Trek. No, thank you. Not for me. Let me put these other ships up on my shelf here. Nobody wants It, What, Who pronoun Trek. Don't want to knock anything else over. I just want to... See, that's the thing about having close quarter displays. You touch one thing, everything wants to move. I'm going to have to come through my shelf here and really, really clean. Oh, I forgot about this. The NX-01 refit. This is one I'm going to end up taking down to make room for him. Oh, I might as well grab it now. I'm looking right at it. This needed microsurgery because I had the cable guy come here one day when they were transitioning over from the original Spectrum cable boxes to these new stupid, whatever they call them, the streaming boxes. And this ship broke to pieces. I had to glue it all back together again. But these little points on the nacelles broke, so I had to cut a piece of plastic. You might not even be able to tell. This is the one I had to fix. I had to trim and cut down a piece of plastic. You can really tell if you look this way that's not, that doesn't belong there. You could see the point is a little lighter than the point over there. But I did that just to make it match. So I had to take it, trim it with close cutters and fingernail trimmers and all that kind of stuff and put it in place. But I think it's time for the Federation Museum. Time to retire this guy and replace it with the G. Because I never liked... See, this is the one thing that Eagle Moss always did with their ships. They always had them tilted. Even though the Enterprise G is on a tilt, at least it's looking up. You know what I mean? So now that it's sitting like that, you might not be able to tell unless I drop the camera down. So let's just do that. That would make sense, right? You see how it points up? That's fine. This thing is off on an angle. I don't know why. I mean, I get the idea behind it, but I'd rather have my Starship sit flat or pointing up like this. So I don't know why they did this with this, but it's time to retire the NX-01 refit. I never was a fan of Enterprise to begin with anyway, so that's just the way it is. Sorry, folks. If you don't like my opinion, too bad. Doesn't mean I'm right, but it is my opinion. So I'm going to put the Cordy Enterprise there, and then, of course, I mean, I can put the NX-01 up there. You guys probably haven't seen my Star Trek collection as it stands right now. Let me flip the camera here quick. Okay, hi, there I am. So, yeah, close your eyes. Your eyes are burning. Ah! So, right above my TV, that's my Star Trek collection of select ships that I have on display. I'm going to have to go up there and dust them off and clean them off. There's so much dust on all them ships. It's like, ugh. When I have time, I will. But that's my Star Trek collection right there. Just a piece of it. I mean, I got stuff that, unfortunately, I just don't have the room for in this apartment to display. And I don't want to overload my home because then it looks goofy. But that's a cool view right there with the Enterprise D in the background. I wish I had room to display that Aoshima. But it is what it is. All right, folks, I've been at this for an hour and a half. But again, I wanted to do this for all of you because I haven't done a review in a long time. And I thought by doing an unrehearsed, straight up raw review for all of you who support the channel and everything like that, I've owed you a review for a while. Many of you have really shown your support, so I thought I'd geek out like a madman tonight talking about Star Trek. It's my favorite franchise. It always was. But unfortunately, with Starfleet Academy and Discovery, I don't watch It What Who Pronoun Trek. It's not for me. I don't watch Social Justice Warrior Star Trek. It's not for me. I kind of ignored season 1 and 2 of Picard. Season 3 fucking rules. I don't know why they just don't stick with what they did in Star Trek season 3. Go with that formula. A good story with twists and turns and all that stuff. Just give us a good story, please. Give us a good story. That's all we want as Trek fans. We don't want to see gay Klingons wearing skirts and overweight, obese people and all this bullshit hitting the check boxes. Just give us a damn good story. That's what we want. That's all we can ever ask for. Give us a good story. Leave our Star Trek alone. Keep your pronouns to yourself. I just noticed that for the first time right now. I'm looking at this. Is that a net? Does that say Enterprise G on the nacelle? Come on. Come on, phone. I know you want to cooperate. Come on. I'm trying to... I don't think I can get my phone to focus while I'm live streaming. I don't think I can. Yeah, it says, yeah, NCC-1701-G. Right there. Look how tiny they made that. See, little details like that I appreciate. Yeah, the camera's not going to focus in that tight, but you're going to have to take my word for it. But anyway, folks, I've been talking now for an hour and a half. Again, I wanted to do an interactive live review for all of you because I haven't really done a good review in a while ever since all this drama happened. And man, I feel so relieved doing this because Star Trek was always my escape. It was always my go-to besides Transformers. There's just something about Star Trek that takes me out of all this bullshit. You know, and I wanted to share my nerdiness with all of you. Many of you have been really, really supportive of my plight. I wish they would have kept the torpedo launchers from the Shangri-La. That's another missed opportunity, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is. But I will be continuing to upload on the channel regularly like I have been. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. I appreciate those who have. I'm going to call it a night. I am very relaxed. I took a nice long nap before I started this live stream because I did another. I'm trying to get back to doing my 5-mile walks. I did another one today, but I'm coming up shy because my body is not acclimated to long distance walking like I used to do a year and a half ago, 2 years ago because of that woman. But, you know, doing 2 walks in 24 hours, you know, in a 24-hour period, I feel so relaxed and like, you know what I mean? I needed it. You know, big shout out to my mom. My buddy who I'll call Special K, if he's watching this. I don't want to give away his name. I want to respect his privacy, who sent me a message on WhatsApp again today. You know, my friends, my family, my neighbors, everybody who's been, you know, really supportive. Even the maintenance guys are breaking my balls today when they saw me walking around. You know, the one maintenance dude was kicking around a whole bunch of broken twigs and wood that fell out of, you know, we had some rain this morning, so there was a bunch of like broken branches and stuff, and he's kicking stuff off to the side, you know, so that this way he can gather it up and then put it up on a curve. And I'm like, you see, I always knew there was a little bit of Pele or a little bit of soccer in you, and he laughed. Then the second maintenance guy, you know, he was creeping up behind me on his fucking golf cart, and he says, you better get the fuck out of the way. Then the third one, after I went out to go get rice cakes and stuff like that, he was honking this really strange fucking horn. I turn around, I'm like, he's like, yo, nice jacket. I was wearing my New York Yankees jacket. And I'm like, what kind of fucking horn is that thing? And he starts honking, and it's like, it's like one of those clown horns. You know, I appreciate everybody trying to make me happy. And, you know, I don't like feeling like the way I've been feeling. I really don't. And you folks have come out, you know, and, you know, I appreciate your kind words and your support. My eBay customers, all of you. Thank you, everybody. So this is for all of you, this live stream. So on that note, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to watch a little boob tube and probably sleep. And the reason why, like I said, is because I took that long ass walk today. And I feel like deflated. I feel like I got a lot of that frustration out of me. And I might do it again tomorrow if I have a good night's sleep, which means it's ibuprofen time before I go to sleep. All right, folks. Again, thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Thank you for supporting the channel, each other, my family, friends, blah, blah, blah. Take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I will see you all very, very soon.